Empowered. Thank you all for coming to our seminar. This is the second of many, many seminars to come. I'm deeply grateful. And as most of you already know, my passion is really helping people find themselves, helping people become all that they can be, remove all self-limiting beliefs from your mind so you could spread your wings and jump out of the plane like I did. So with that, I would love to introduce you to one of the board members of Agents of Hope. She's a very, very good friend of mine for years, very, very motivational. She's inspired me to do many things. She actually will be moderating this event. And it's with a great honor and pleasure that I introduce you to Dr. Bonike Odegbami. Round of applause, please.
Thank you. I'm short today. I'm as tall as Bookie, but but I left my heels in the car. So and I have so much going on right now. But good evening and welcome. As Shalai introduced me, we have been friends for a very long time, and he inspires me. So I'm not quite sure where he got the other part of that story from, but he inspires me. Shalai is very driven, and he encourages me to come out of my shell a little bit and kind of share my passion to encourage other people to, to maximize your potential. Because I think a lot of times we don't maximize our potential. We're always afraid, and fear is our greatest enemy. So I'm hoping that these series that we have every month will encourage all of us. It's not just for younger ones. I work with students a lot, so you hear me say students, but I'm an educator, so I work with students. But not just students, but adults as well, to encourage us to maximize our potential and overcome our fears of what could be. I'm going to tell you a short story. I remember when my daughter was younger. She was probably about 1 or 2, and I think for those parents in the room, you can relate to this. So we were walking down the mall, and she said, "Mommy, hold my hand." It seemed so little, but it was a profound moment for me. Hold my hand. Isn't that what they all say? Hold my hand. She needed me to lead. She needed me to comfort her. She needed me to make sure she knows that it's going to be okay. She could walk by herself, but it's, "Mommy, hold my hand." Every day at my job, I work with students. We have over 70,000 students. I find myself holding their hands. And I don't work with kids. I work with 3-year-olds. I work with 70-year-olds. We have 80-year-olds that graduate. But everyone that walks through our property is asking for us to hold their hands. And I'm hoping that as we go through these series, we can hold each other's hands. I'm going to need someone to hold my hand. Maybe my strength is in education. Maybe my strength is in inspiration. But there might be some other areas that I need someone to hold my hand. And you may need someone to hold your hands. And I think a lot of times our egos get in the way, so we don't want to ask for help. Sometimes I think about it, I don't know something, and should I ask? And what would that other person say? I thought she's a vice chancellor. She doesn't know the answer to that. Well, I don't know the answer to everything. So I'm asking that you hold my hand. Just like little kids say to us, "Hold my hand." There's a profound message in that. And I'm hoping that our speaker tonight, who is an awesome speaker, by the way, he's a colleague of mine from Wayne County Community College District, and he has gracefully accepted the opportunity to speak here. And he's a great motivational speaker that inspires me. Hopefully, he will hold your hand this evening and take you to the next level. Because I'm sure, like me, there are parts of you where you want to go that you're afraid. You're afraid of that next step. I was afraid to come to Michigan. I lived in Atlanta. I didn't have a job. I spent my husband's money. I was your typical housewife. I loved going to the mall, and he comes back, and we can go to dinner. I don't like to cook. I like to buy shoes. I had a PhD, but it didn't really matter to me. I was very comfortable. But maybe I wasn't. Maybe I was afraid. I was afraid of the next step. What happens after a PhD? Till a friend called me up and said, "Do you want to be a dean?" And I thought, what do they do? He said, "Well, just come on over, come on." So that was my short story on how I came to Michigan in 2003, and I have not looked back since. And I stand here not because I'm good. I stand here not because I'm educated. I stand here not because I'm beautiful, because I am beautiful. I stand here because some people held my hand. I'm not here because I know it all. I'm here because I was always afraid, but I've always had that one person to hold my hand to say, Bonike, you can do it. I never thought I could be a dean. That was 12 years ago. I serve as a vice chancellor today. And I'm not done yet. Shola thinks I'm about to be a chancellor, but I told our chancellor he needs to give me 5 more years. I'll be ready then, unless somebody holds my hand. And on that note, I'm sorry I'm in a rush. I have a family emergency. But I have Mr. Dawood Mohammed here, who almost gave me a stroke because we work together, but we don't see each other. I'm on the 3rd floor, he's on the 1st floor, and this is probably the first time I'm going to see him in a couple of weeks, but because we're all busy. So I wasn't really quite sure if we're still going to be able to make it. Did he remember? So I'm glad you're here, Mr. Mohammed. I really appreciate it. And I think our friends here have a lot to learn from you and from the inspiring stories that you always share with us. Mr. Dawood Mohammed works at Wayne County Community College District, and I don't know how long he's been working there. So I guess he will tell you that when he comes in. I can just tell you that he's an awesome, awesome speaker. So on that note, Mr. Mohammed.
Good evening. Well, I'm very happy to be here. I wasn't sure of what the format would be, how things go. I'm hoping that whatever it is I share is of benefit to the listener. I don't like to waste words. I like to share and hope that whatever it is I share finds a resting place somewhere in your consciousness and that you find it beneficial. And I won't be long because I have 2 things that I know I'm working against. That's one, the time of day. If you've already had a long day, there's only so much energy you can give to a talk. And unfortunately, though this may be a very unique crowd, folks' attention spans aren't what they used to be. And I like to respect both time, and sometimes brevity is a gift. And it doesn't take a lot when minds are singularly focused. What I'd like to share with you is a very simple principle, and it's encapsulated in one thing. And that is, you've done it already. I'll say that once more. You've done it already. Now, having said that, because I'm going to end the way I started. That's really the end of my talk right there. You've done it already. Got it? I like a response when I'm talking. You can say, what's the subject? You've done it already. But okay, that's kind of impersonal. I'm a singular speaker speaking to a group, so I can say you've done it already. But now you have to personalize it. So what's the subject? You've got it. So you quick learners. It doesn't take a long time. Now the question is, what have I done? And I'll put it to you like this. Every soul that occupies a seat or standing in this room, you have done and have achieved the improbable and virtually the impossible. The only reason we can't say impossible is because you're here. Now let me explain myself. How do you justify your existence on this big blue marble spinning at 1,037 1/3 miles per hour? It weighs about 6 sextillion tons. That's like 6 with 21 zeros behind it. Yet as heavy as it is, it's spinning at such a rapid speed because the light of the sun strikes it. And that gives it movement. There's nobody blowing on it. There's not a bunch of people pushing on it. An object this heavy is being moved by whatever the quality of the light of the sun has to move the object, and it's the fastest vehicle you've ever ridden in your life. And you've never felt a pothole. True? It's a pretty good vehicle. Whatever Porsche, Mercedes, or whatever else you say you like to buy, just know that there hasn't been an engineer yet that can engineer a vehicle faster than this planet. And there's yet to be a vehicle, even though they have Tesla motors and they have electric cars, all of that is nice. There's no vehicle that's moving on solar energy like this one. So that's a pretty impressive vehicle. You've been riding in it, and you've made a few revolutions around the sun in it. And however old you are is how many revolutions you've made around the sun based upon calculations on the Gregorian calendar of 12 months and 365 days, blah, blah, blah. You already know all of that. So, that being said, what have you done? Well, let's go back to this statement. How do you justify your existence on this wonderful vehicle making these revolutions around the sun? Now, I like to look at things in nature. I like to look at things in the human body. I like to look at just the world around us. That fascinates me. And in this fascinating reality that we live in, I like to sometimes draw an analogy here, a metaphor there. Maybe we can grab a spiritual nugget here or there. I don't like to speak with limitation. I don't have a linear way that I address things, so it might be a little spontaneous. We might bounce here or there, but don't worry, we'll stay in the same place. Now, the Earth, as it spins at 1,037 1/3 miles per hour, in its fixed rotation, that gives us night and day. Am I correct? Night and day. But the revolution it makes around the sun, that gives us our months and our years. Correct? Okay. We know that we get our seasons not based upon how close the Earth is to the sun, but the angle of the Earth to the sun as it makes its elliptical revolution around the sun. Depending on the angle determines the degree of sunlight and the intensity of that sunlight, and ultimately what you call winter and summer and so on. Correct? Okay. Have you ever had winter in your life? Have you? Winter. Have you experienced winter? And I'm not talking about the season where you put on your coat. I'm talking about conditions that were pretty cold and not very productive conditions. Have you been through winter and didn't have the right coat? And after you've been through a few winters, you learn which coat to wear. Loss in friendship, cruel treatment, loss of a job, stumbling academically or professionally. You ever had that winter before? Can get pretty cold, can't it? You remember the spring of your life, but everything just seems so colorful and wonderful, and I'm in love. Have you experienced spring? Have you experienced summer in your life? And it's wonderful at times, but sometimes it's a little too much, huh? And I'm sure you've experienced autumn or the fall. It's not too hot, not too cold. Days seem to be getting shorter. Doesn't seem to be enough time, but you're enjoying the fruits of whatever labor and energy you've put into a project, objective, and so on. Correct? All of us have had that journey. Well, how does one justify his or her existence? You justify your existence by realizing the importance of reaching the highest manifestation of the perfect reality called you. You've heard people say nobody's perfect. I beg to differ. I am perfectly Dawood Muhammad. There's not another one that can be this one. I am perfectly him. And you can't outdo me in being me. Now, you can outdo me in some stuff, but being me, you can't touch this. And the same is true of everyone in this room. You are perfectly who you are, but you haven't reached, oftentimes most of us haven't reached the perfected state of what that is. In other words, everyone in here was born to do something perfect, and that something is you're born to do the greatest thing you can do with the package you're given. Not simply the external package, but the package you were given based upon how you came up in life. Whether you consider it tragic or wonderful and all sugar and ice cream and nothing sour. However you see your life, that's part of your package. Your social package, your emotional package, your environmental package, all of that. Ultimately, who and what you are is determined by action and motion, not based on what books you get at the store in the self-help section. Though those books can be valuable, but ultimately it'll be determined by the actions you take as you define yourself in a new way every day, or at least you have the potential to. I would warn you though, be careful and make sure you can distinguish between a habit and an addiction. They are very similar. If you do something habitually long enough, to change you or to move you away from that habit, it's almost like trying to take you off of crack or heroin. Because habits is where we find our comfort zone. And one of the greatest drugs to overcome is comfort. Because we are constantly seeking comfort from the day we come forth from the womb of our mothers. And there's nothing wrong with seeking comfort, but be clear that if you look for ultimate comfort, in other words, you're looking for that moment of just straight, complete, total, and maximum comfort, well, that could be the end of your life there. Because comfort is not a permanent state. It is a driving condition. A lot of people say, well, you know, no pain, no gain. Yeah, that's true. No pain, no gain. But I have something else I want you to consider. No pleasure, no enthusiastic movement toward goals and going beyond those goals. There must be pleasure in life. I'm not speaking in the hedonistic sense, even though I know I'm in the ultra lounge. But I'm speaking in a deeper sense. We are driven more by pleasure than pain, and sometimes you think that you have to experience pain in areas where you really don't have to. You just choose to, and then you want to be looked at as the martyr because you live such a painful life, and people be putting so much on me, and there's so much, my whole family's depending on me, and I have to do everything right, and you know, it's just so much pressure because you're choosing to shoulder it. There's some stuff you're not supposed to shoulder because, excuse me, I'm going to depart from proper language and say to you, it ain't yours. It ain't. It ain't yours. What's yours to carry, you can carry well. There are times where it's uncomfortable, there's times where it's not. Now, how do you justify your existence on this earth? By manifesting your gifts, your talents, your creativity, by achieving objectives and goals through your creativity and gifts without limitation. Well, we all have limits, yeah, we do, but a lot of times what we think is a limit is not, except in this sense. There is a law for everything in the universe. And there are restrictions, but those restrictions are not oppressive restrictions. Those restrictions are necessary for you to develop in various stages until you reach your greatest possible existence. And you're supposed to experience that. Now, I won't get into a debate with you in terms of how you look at life religiously. I've often been asked to speak at funerals. And I find it interesting. I don't care what your religion is, whether you're Muslim, Christian, Buddhist. I find it interesting at funerals, folks always know the destination of the deceased, if you believe like that. I mean, people speak with great, I know so-and-so is up in heaven looking down on me. How do you know that? Yeah, I mean, people speak with, and nobody bothers it because, of course, you had a funeral, so you be bearing witness, y'all. Yeah. How do you know? You don't know that. Whatever your belief is. So I never, when I'm asked to speak, I never assign where that person is in relationship to the ultimate place people believe a person should be if they believe them to be good. But I will say this. The heaven and hell of life itself are the conditions you should focus on. And I'm going to share with you the best possible religion. The best religion is, his name is Dawood Muhammad. I know what he's going to say. Do you? The best religion is treat people like you want to be treated. That's the best religion. And you'll find that in all the world's religions. You'll find that in all the great philosophical beliefs amongst the people. All of the great philosophers, all of them talked about the same thing. Treat others as you like to be treated. So can we look at that as a fundamental rule? No matter what your religion, treat people like you want to be treated. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to give it to you in kind, but your conscience will be clear because you treat people like you want to be treated. How many of you agree with that? You agree? Good. Good, good, good. All right. In agreement with that, if that's true, then let's look at growth. If, in fact, you're in an environment where you want to grow or you want to be in an environment where you want to thrive, and there's someone who might be responsible for helping to nurture you into your growth, treat people like you want to be treated. Meaning, what kind of treatment would you expect out of somebody responsible for helping you to grow? What kind of treatment? Think about that for a minute, because not all treatment is the kind of treatment you like. A really good teacher, I promise you, the teacher you remember most is the teacher that challenged you the most and did not let you sit in your comfort zone. In fact, the best teachers understand education in its deeper sense. The word education comes from a Latin word educere. It literally means to guide or to lead out. In other words, education is not the information you put in somebody's head. Education is to identify the unique gifts and talents of your pupil and challenge your pupil with external information to tap into their internal greatness and activate that by challenging them intellectually to be critical thinkers. That's education. That other stuff is just rote learning so you can be a nice robot and, you know, get what robots get. Oiled with a check and you don't think much, you just stay in line. But I don't think I'm speaking to those kind of folk, right? I didn't think so. Well, to justify your existence, there are three things you must overcome. Three critical things you must overcome. You must overcome incredible odds against you. When I say incredible odds against you, I'm going to give you a number, and then I'll explain the number later. I'd say the odds are like approximately 350 million to 1. Is that some pretty steep odds? 350 million to 1. Would you put some money on the table for that? 350 million to 1. There's no casino that would, you know, worry about you if you tried to bet against the house on that. But look, so you must overcome incredible odds. What's the first principle? Must overcome incredible odds against you. My point is you've already done that. I told you already did it. You said you already, you said, what did you say earlier? You personalized, what did you say? I've already done it. And you've already done that. Next great principle in overcoming to justify your existence on this wonderful planet and out in the universe, because some of you got enough genius where you might move beyond the planet. But next principle you must embrace and understand is you must overcome an environment that's so hostile it's diametrically opposed to your existence. I'm talking about an environment where your existence is not calculated into the environment. In fact, everything in the environment says you're not supposed to be here. Now remember, you said earlier that you what? You've done it already. So that's another thing that you've done. Then lastly, you must make an upward motion toward your goal while there is a downward force, like gravity, pushing you away from the goal you're trying to reach. So the force of gravity, hostile environment, and incredible odds against you. And your answer to what I've just said is, Daud Muhammad, it's not impossible. Okay, when'd you do it? Somebody said it, not at birth, but at conception. At one time, and this is always a profound reflection for me, at one time, you, the singular individual, born to be perfectly you, you were potentially you, but in two parts. There was mom and there was dad. Now, mom might have been in Detroit, dad might have been in Lagos. Mom might have been in Alabama, dad might have been in LA. But at some point, there was an encounter between mom and dad. And when that encounter took place, mom and dad really liked each other a lot. And so there was a point where there was physical intimacy. And in that physical encounter, there was 350 million on average life seeds expended from your father, introduced into the birth canal of your mother, and as soon as those seeds reached that birth canal, it was trouble. Because though there was a big army of 350 million, though that was true, most of them died before they even reached the cervix. Most of them did, because the environment was that hostile. And then those that made it to the cervical opening started making their way through the uterus up to the fallopian tubes, and more of them were lost because the environment was hostile. It's an acidic environment, and it's killing off those seeds. By the time those seeds make its way to that egg to potentially fertilize, it's only a few dozen now. We're talking about down from 350 million to a few dozen. And out of that few dozen, all of them penetrate the outer part of the egg, but there's one that reaches the core, and when that happens, a chemical reaction takes place where it seals the egg, and any of the sperm trapped in between, sorry, they're out of there. And then it seals off where no other sperm can penetrate that egg, and cell generation starts, and there's genetic material from mama, genetic material from dad, and after 9 months, a new life comes into being. So what did you do? You were born. And your birth is proof of you overcoming incredible odds, hostile environment, odds against you, and the downward force of gravity toward your upward goal. Do you know when those seeds are on their way up toward the egg, that there are these like little finger-like things that are forcing the egg down toward the sperm, but in pushing the eggs down toward the sperm, it's making it difficult for the sperm to make it up. And so they become more and more agitated in movement. Ultimately, proof that everything worked out is that you're here right now. Now, with that said, once you're born, you got to start over again. But this time, you're doing it in the social environment. You're not going back into your mother's womb, but you're born into a new womb. You're born into stages of development. You start off not knowing much, but over time you learn. You learn through your parents, you learn through your teachers, but more importantly, in your early formative years, you're simply learning through good observation. And you learn some things. Children learn a lot of stuff through trial and error and observation. You try and keep your toddler or your child away from steps, but you don't really teach a child how to go down the steps. The child kind of figures that out on his or her own. Some of them find out the hard way. And you hear that, and you run out and get them. And some of them are very cautious. In fact, they don't do the down thing. They stay away from there. They let mom or dad take them down, but up. They'll do up, only to get stuck halfway. You have to get them. But one thing about children is they observe and they learn. Some of them learn painful lessons. And even walking. Did you know that doctors have said, a lot of people say, my child never even crawled. He just got up and walked. They say it's really healthier that a child crawls for a while because it's developing its coordination, it's activating certain neurotransmitters. Every stage of your growth and development was necessary. Now, the question to ask, I was looking at a documentary, and they were saying how nature is dumb and the birth process is illogical, and I'm like, man, where'd they come from? It's one of the most beautiful things to me. Here it is. Every one of you is like against the odds. 350 million is an average. I've seen it where it says 1 billion may be expended, but only one makes it. Point being made is you've done it already. Now what you have to do is sometimes take a step back and look at where you are in life and just know that if you feel some forces down on you, you're supposed to. If you feel like the environment is hostile, it's supposed to be. If you feel the odds are against you, that's natural. It's not new. It's not based upon the country you're in. It's not based upon your philosophical or political slant. It's based upon that is a natural process that will grow you into the greatest manifestation of who you are if you don't reject it. So you cannot reject struggle. And certainly you cannot reject pain. But here's the question. How did your journey begin? How did your journey begin of seed or sperm on its way to egg? What brought that about? It was a moment, hopefully, I'm sure with great intent, of pleasure. In that moment of pleasure, a process began. Something about pleasure as a driving force. And the greatest pleasure you can get is to have an idea. Think on that idea. Lay out your plans for that idea. Go about reaching and attaining your objective, and when you reach it, there's nothing more pleasurable than to have an idea and to fully manifest that idea, and that idea is not aborted or failed, but it is successful. There's nothing more pleasurable than that. But when we think with limitation, we don't draw on the best and the greatest of who we are. So I'm going to make a few final points. I'm going to wrap this up. Everybody okay? Not putting anybody to sleep? Somebody said not yet. Well, I'm not dancing. I can promise you that. But look, you've heard the term metamorphosis, and the most common reference that people make when they talk about a metamorphosis is when a caterpillar wraps itself in a cocoon, and that over a period of time it comes from that cocoon a butterfly. Now, interestingly, that caterpillar doesn't look very attractive, no more than when you study the microscopic level of your own procreation. It may not be the prettiest thing, but it brings great beauty at the end of the journey. Well, in studying that butterfly, did you know that that chrysalis or cocoon is actually just like one single strand? And that creature emits that strand from itself based upon the diet it's feeding on, and it produces that strand of silk, and it wraps itself up in it, attaches itself to a branch, and then it goes through that process of metamorphosis. At one point, that caterpillar breaks completely down where it's almost liquid. Then over time, the wings begin to develop and all of the other component parts. Part of the greatest aspect of the moth or the butterfly coming into its own is it must work itself out of its own cocoon. And in doing so, it's developing nervous system, muscles, and whatever necessary to survive on the other side of the cocoon. Now, in a principle kind of symbolic sense, we all are at a place in life, and much of where we are in life isn't simply what people did to us, but how we reacted to what they did, and then the stuff we did after that, which some good, some bad, some rationalizing and trying to justify and all of that, others very good decision making and so on. but your life is your singular thread that you wrap yourself up in. And there are aspects in your growth and your development and in your greatness where you will get help along the way, but there are aspects where nobody can take you out of the cocoon. You got to climb out yourself. And there are times where you may feel that you have been broken down to such a degree that you'll never recover. But oftentimes, all that is the next stage of growth. And it means that you got to let some stuff go so that you can get to the next level. And that means that you can't keep things just like they were. Now, I said something earlier about habits and addictions. Habits are just these frequent patterns we do till we get comfortable. Addictions are something else. That creates a chemical dependency. We've taken something, and that thing has made us to depend on it. And sometimes, in a looser sense, we can become addicted to things and people, and we're looking for a rush from people when we better start generating our own rush. Because ultimately, you're going to wake up with you every day until you're out of here. And don't look for somebody to make you happy. Cultivate some happiness so when you meet that person, thank you, when you meet that person, you can share some happiness. Don't look for a person to validate you. Validate yourself. Put the star on your own ticket. Give yourself your own stamp. And keep moving toward your goal and your objective. So I close saying this to you. You did it already. Just do it again, but do it with a level of consciousness, because that seed had some kind of intelligence that got it to the egg. You have far more intelligence than that, so bring something new to birth. It's expected of you. You were born to do it.
Thank you, sir. That was fantastic. Wow, I've never really seen life from such a deep perspective before. It was very, very enlightening. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. We really, really appreciate you, your wisdom, your presence. You all took great notes, right? Yes, good. That was very, very insightful. With that, I would also like to introduce another dear friend of mine. Miss Eva Toby is an author, a speaker. She's the founder and owner of Extended Expressions. She presents on different media outlets, on fashion, on style. You know, that's why she's always looking so good, because she's representing very well. So I'd like her to come talk to us about her passion, her new book she just released, The Purpose Factor, her motivation behind it, and to give us some additional wisdom tips. With that, please meet Miss Eva Toby.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Oh, the lights. Hello. Yes, purpose. Thank you. You're kind of all in line, Mr. Muhammad, with my whole movement. Just like my bro said, my name's Eva. A lot of people call me Bookie. That's my Nigerian name, Eva Toby. And I am the newly author of The Purpose Factor. Very excited. We released it about 2 weeks ago. We had an event September 1st. The Purpose Factor, why is that so important? First, let me ask everyone a question. When you think of purpose, what do you think of? Anyone? The reason why we're here? Anyone else? When you hear purpose? Any others? Okay. Say it again. Explanation? Yes. Okay. So why we're here and explanations. Again, when I think of purpose, sort of basically what you all just summarized, it's really based on the reason as to why we were created, the intent of why God created us. And the beautiful part about it is that each and every one of us here, outside driving the road, has purpose. Would you all agree? Some of us have found it. Some of us are still on a journey. And I like how Mr. Muhammad used those words, because that's always my catchphrase, the journey continues. Because we're all on a journey, sort of like you said, from that conception onward until it's done. And I always am of the mindset, if you have a pulse, guess what? You still have a purpose and a plan. There's a unique purpose and plan for your life. So the Purpose Factor was pretty much born. And what happened was, maybe about 2 years ago, I was asked to speak to the youth at my church about how to be successful and, walk with purpose. And just based on like my experience traveling the world, being a presenter with the auto show. Just again, just talk to the youth, so kind of put a little fire up their tail, because how teenagers can be sometimes. And so I had like 7 points. Okay, this is what you need to do. You need to get clear, network, blah, 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 this and that, this and that. And literally after that, 2 years ago, put it away. And I put it in my Bible. And I didn't realize it was in my Bible till my family and I experienced a tragedy last year where we lost one of my very dearest cousins. It was like a brother to me, Thomas Toby, who the book is actually dedicated to. And I remember being in such a dark place. Like, I just felt like I didn't have purpose. Like, what is life? What? I was just so anxious. Then I became very anxious. I was angry, then I became anxious. Like, everyone that I met, I'm like, are you doing what you need to do? Are you doing what you, like, hurry, 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 hurry. Like, it was like too much. But because I was just like, you're here and then you're gone. And we all have a unique purpose, so we don't want to make sure that we're wasting it, because in an instant, life can just be taken away from you just like that. And I remember being in a dark place, didn't read my Bible for like weeks. I talk about it in the book. And I remember my mom's like, no, you got to start somewhere. You got to like pray. Like, first time ever in my life, like I just didn't pray for like weeks, and just had just nothing. I was just empty. And I remember opening my Bible up, and guess what fell out? Those notes. And I was always thinking like, yeah, I want to write a book, but I was looking at the perspective of, yes, my life on the road is a model, traveling, being a presenter. And it was like, nope, this is what I need to talk about. And literally, the Purpose Factor was born, and I just built upon that. And I said, I want everyone to hear this, because I want everyone. I'm always passionate about other people's passion. And if you know me, you'll know that, like, if you have an idea, okay, you're interested in this, and I'm like all in, like, that's just me, because again, that's something has been planted in you, and I just want to help you to maximize that, encourage that. And then the Purpose Factor was born by the grace of God. And like I said, it's dedicated to my cousin. And it was even in his passing during that whole just moment that my family and I realized, like, wow, like, I mean, it was like thousands of people there. And we just heard the things people were saying and how passionate, ambitious my cousin was. And I've always known him, of course, since birth, but it just further just confirmed, like, yes, my cousin definitely, he lived with purpose, whether he knew it or not, and he indeed lived to inspire. That's another one of my mantras. Like, we need to make sure we're living to inspire, because guess what? When it comes to purpose, this is another thing too. It's not just about us, because guess what? Someone is waiting on you to do what you need to do along that journey, so then that you too can be a destiny helper for them, and so on and so forth. You get what I mean? So it's like, well, if you're just stagnant, guess what? You're taken away from the person that's waiting for you. You may not know it, but you're taken away from that person. So hence, we all need to assure that we are walking and living in our purpose. Because another thing, too, when you do that, your life will be so fulfilled and meaningful. It's not always about money. Money is good, but it's not always about money. I know people, and I talk about that in the book, doctors, millionaires, like making money. But guess what? They're miserable, because that's not what they really wanted to do. They're not walking in their purpose. They were either forced to do it, or because society said it was okay, and then now they're, even years later, they went through everything, but they're just like, they still have a burning passion and desire for something else. And that's what the Purpose Factor is for. Identify that and start walking in that. Don't worry, the money, all the blessings, all that stuff will come. But guess what? You'll be so fulfilled because you're walking in what it is God created you and I to do. And another thing, too, don't worry about what Sister A is doing or Sister B. That's okay. You have your own lane. I call it the 3G lane, God-given gift lane. You have your own lane. And once you're walking in that lane, God will supply you, and you'll just flourish, because guess what? It's your lane, right? It's not her lane. You're not worrying like, why is she doing that? You don't need to worry about that, because that's her purpose. That's her destiny. You have your own journey. We all have a unique journey to which we should be walking in, hence the Purpose Factor. So I'm very passionate about it. I hope it can be inspiring for you. That was my whole thing. I was like, Lord, when I was writing it, it's been, again, almost a year, actually a year. And I just said, it's not even about me. I wasn't even thinking of numbers. And I just said I wanted to be a blessing and inspiration for someone. And already I've gotten calls and text messages from people in Nigeria like, yes, you know, I'm so glad, like that one point when we talked about comfort zone, and I know you talked about that too. I talk a lot about that. There's no growth in your comfort zone. The person was like, you know what, when I read that, it was just further confirmation that I do need to get out of my comfort zone because there's no growth. You know, another person was like, yes, you know, I'm such a shy person, but I realize I do need to network. Because I talk a lot about that. It's a chapter actually about networking, the power of networking, and just getting clear and clearing your mind and planning and vision boards and just so much just information just about my own journey, my struggles, my highs, my lows that I just kind of deposited into that book, and hopefully it can be a blessing to each and every one of you. Fair enough? With a round of applause, how many people feel you found your purpose? You feel you found it? Okay, stump your feet if you haven't found it. Okay, everyone's found it. That's awesome. But still get the book, though. I'm like, because that's the beauty about it, too. Because I talk about, like, again, just like I mentioned, it's for people that may have not known, or it's steps also in there to help you stay empowered and self-motivating. Because will we all agree that life can take its toll, and you can get distracted, and yeah, you walk into your purpose, and then something happens, and oh, great. Setback. So I have steps in there about how to just stay empowered and continue to self-motivate yourself to continue to walk along that journey. So again, you can be a blessing to others and also too so that you too can be fulfilled along this journey. We all want to live with purpose, and we all want to live to inspire because it's more, the picture is bigger than us. At the end of the day, the picture is bigger than us. And in my cousin's passing, I saw that clear, like people, grown men, crying and saying how literally he gave the shirt off his back when that person was in need. So hopefully, again, this can be a blessing to each and every one of you. So I want to thank you so much for your time, for the opportunity to talk about it. The cool part is that during this launch period, it's all about giving back, right? Paying forward. Sales, 50% of the proceeds of the book are going towards the Food Click, which is a nonprofit organization out of Nigeria whose mission is to feed hungry children, women, families. So again, we're giving them a chance at hope and purpose when you purchase that. So it's not wasted at all. So thank you so much for your time. Any questions? Any questions, comments, concerns? For those that people feel you found your purpose, did you find it right away? Yes. You haven't? Oh, okay. You're one of the stumping the feet? Oh, fair enough. But that's okay. That's okay, though. I appreciate your transparency and your honesty. Not all of us have found this. Some of us are still, like I said, it wasn't till, like I said, real recently, because sort of my background, I know my brother kind of covered it. Let's see. I have a master's in social work, psychology, and then I recently obtained an MBA. So I worked with the state for like about a long time, a couple years, 8 years or so. And I was always a presenter, though, on the side, part-time. So I travel with Chevrolet, presenting on the new cars that are coming out. And then maybe like around 2011, I took the bold step. It was rough. Imagine going from a very steady, comfortable government job and then saying, you know what, I just want to go out on my own and just discover myself and see what's out there. And it took a while. I thought about it maybe in like 2009 and then literally 11, January 7th, 2011. That's when I said bye-bye. And I left the corporate world or the typical 9 to 5 and just have been on a journey since then. And then here we are, September 17, 2015. Never would have thought I'd have written a book. That wasn't even like, or even doing stuff on the media with Genevieve magazine out of Nigeria. So it just shows you, again, once you take away that fear, because I had a lot of fear. You know, I had a lot of fear. I was comfortable. I had a steady income, good benefits, everything. I was very comfortable. But once I got out of that comfort zone, I began to see the growth. So remember, there's no growth in your comfort zone. Sort of like Mr. Mahaba was saying. Again, that's one of the, I like how you said it's a drug, one of the hardest drugs to overcome, comfort. And it's true. We get so comfortable and it's like, oh, no. But you won't experience growth if you're constantly in that comfort zone. So that's what I did, and then here we are today. Like you said, I have Extended Expressions, Street Style with Genevieve magazine, and now by the grace of God, the book. So I'm very thankful for that. So hopefully this can charge something up in each of one of you out there that may have been thinking about doing something, whatever the case may be. Hopefully it encourages you. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Eva. Another round of applause for Miss Eva Toby. Thank you. Was everyone motivated, encouraged, inspired? That was a new one for me. The 3G, your God-given gifts, staying in your lane and just doing your thing. Jump out of a plane. Somebody jump out of a plane like I did. You know, I'm telling you, it will change your life. But Eva's book was so inspiring. I read it really in a couple of hours. The big thing that stood out to me was the networking. You know, always going out of your comfort zone, meet new people. You just never know. Everyone in this room I met through some event or the other. Again, it's such a great pleasure to have everyone. And I would like to bring another dear friend of mine to close out this session for the month of September. We'll see all of you third Thursday of every month, so October the 15th. And we have some really, really awesome speakers. Actually, I won't spoil the surprise, but we have one of them in the room here, Mrs. Trump. Very, very powerful speaker. Round of applause for her. And with that, I would like to bring up Mr. Ime, the owner and founder of Cola Restaurant and Lounge, to close this.
Everybody give it up for Shola and the Asians and Hope group. Thank you, thank you, thank you. First of all, thank you for coming out. This is a huge, you know, we're very, very proud of the fact that we'll get an opportunity to host this event. Shola, the Agents of Hope group have been great partners. I don't take it for granted. They could have done this event anywhere. So I always tell people one of my personal goals is for us to be able to support each other. You go to other different groups, other ethnic groups, they do that so well. But we do it poorly. And I'm not just doing that because I'm trying to, you know, pack Cola Lounge, but it's just some of your own businesses. And who is supporting you? You know, why can't we support each other? That's key. They all do it very well. So I tell him thank you every time we have an event because he could have done this. Agents of Hope could have gone and done this in another organization. They are obligated to do it here. But they felt it was important to support someone that has the same objectives and goals and vision that they do. I always tell him I'll say something different every time because he wants me to talk every month. You know, so, but one of, you know, my personal, you know, I live by 3 core principles. I call them the 3 Ps. Eva spent a huge, and I know I didn't tell her, but that's just one of my greatest, you know, drivers is purpose. You have to know what your purpose in life is. You know, that's the first one. Once you understand, oh, I'm sorry. That's why during over there was, sometimes she would give me the finger. I'm like, okay, that's, stop. You know, she's like, Mike. You have to understand what your purpose is. And if you don't, you know, I beg you to spend a lot of time on that with your family. You know, sit down and understand what were you put on this earth to do. Take a look back at what you've accomplished over the past couple of years. What was good, what was bad. That will help you decide, okay, what is it that I was put on this earth to do? Your failures, your successes, put them all together and think about it. That will help you set the tone for the next 10 to 20 years. The second thing, second P, I call perseverance. I've been blessed a bit, opportunity to have a couple of business opportunities. I mean, this is probably one of the largest things I've been involved with, but, you know, it's one of the toughest or hardest things I've ever done. Hard on me, hard on my family, my friends, but everybody around me has the same vision. You got to surround yourself with people that understand that what we're doing is bigger than me, it's bigger than them. So if you have that, it'll allow you to be able to deal with the lows a little bit better because that perseverance is huge. No matter what business, you know, I used to own the janitorial, you know, cleaning people's homes. Same issue. Some weeks you have business, some weeks you don't. But when you understand, you know, the reason you need that money, you know, the reason you need to be able to help people back home, back here, the reason you motivate your friends, you know, you'll do it. You'll go to what you have to do. And then lastly, passion. Okay, if you don't have passion about what you're doing, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your family's time, you're wasting everybody's time. So you got to be able to be passionate about what you are doing. And I'm telling you, you'll be able to go through some of those tough times a little bit easier. So purpose, perseverance, and passion. On that note, thank you very much for coming out. God bless you. And please tell people so that we can have, you know, this is actually better than last month. So we're doing this every third Thursday, like Charlotte said. But man, you know, I love having this place packed on Saturday night and Friday night with parties and dancing. I'm one of those people dancing, but this gives me such great joy to be able to do events like this that actually impact your lives and help you grow yourself personally and professionally. So spread the word. Tell people when you see the invites, forward it on. Let's get this thing going and get the house packed. Thank you.